On September 8, 1974, just 1 month after taking office, a new American president made a decision that would define his legacy and permanently alter public trust in the White House. The country was still reeling from the most explosive political scandal in modern United States history. A sitting president had resigned in disgrace. Confidence in government was fragile. Institutions had been tested. The Constitution had survived, but barely. And then, in a nationally televised address, President Gerald Ford did something few Americans expected. He pardoned Richard Nixon. To understand the weight of that decision, you have to understand the moment in which it was made. In August 1974, Richard Nixon became the first president in American history to resign from office. The Watergate scandal, involving a break-in at Democratic National Committee headquarters and a far-reaching cover-up, had consumed the country for more than 2 years. Investigative journalism had exposed layers of deception. Congressional hearings were broadcast into American living rooms. Secret White House recordings revealed conversations about obstructing justice. Political pressure built slowly, then all at once. By the summer of 1974, impeachment was no longer hypothetical. It was imminent. On August 9th, Richard Nixon stepped down. Vice President Gerald Ford, a longtime congressman known for his steadiness rather than charisma, was sworn in as the 38th President of the United States. In his first address to the nation, Ford declared that our long national nightmare is over. It was a moment of relief, but also uncertainty. The question hanging over Washington was simple. What would happen next? Would a former president face criminal prosecution? Would the justice system pursue charges? Or would the country attempt to move forward without reopening the wounds of Watergate? Just 30 days into his presidency, Ford answered that question. He announced that he was granting Richard Nixon a full, free, and absolute pardon for any crimes he may have committed while in office. Not after a trial. Not after an indictment. Immediately. The pardon applied to all federal offenses Nixon had committed or may have committed during his presidency. Under the United States Constitution, the president holds broad pardon power for federal crimes. It is one of the strongest unilateral authorities granted to the executive branch. Ford's action was fully legal. But legality and legitimacy are not always the same thing. In his televised address, Ford argued that a prolonged criminal trial of a former president would keep the country trapped in division. He said the nation needed stability and healing. He insisted that America could not afford to relive the trauma of Watergate through years of courtroom proceedings. In Ford's view, the pardon was not about Nixon. It was about the country. But many Americans saw something different. They saw protection. They saw political elites shielding one of their own. They saw a powerful man escaping the consequences that ordinary citizens would face. The backlash was immediate and intense. Before the pardon, Ford's approval rating stood near 70%, one of the highest starting points for any modern president. Within days of the announcement, that number fell sharply. Public trust, already damaged by Watergate, eroded further. Major newspapers questioned the timing of the decision. Editorial boards debated whether justice had been sacrificed for political convenience. Protesters gathered. Letters flooded congressional offices. Some critics went further, suggesting there had been a private understanding between Ford and Nixon, that the presidency itself may have come with an unspoken agreement of protection. Though no concrete evidence ever confirmed such a deal, suspicion lingered. Members of Congress openly challenged Ford. He later testified before a congressional committee to defend his decision, a rare moment in which a sitting president voluntarily answered questions from lawmakers. Ford maintained that there had been no bargain. He insisted that he acted independently and in good faith. But for many Americans, the damage was done. It felt like confirmation that the powerful could operate above the law. The political consequences followed quickly. In 1976, Ford sought election in his own right. His opponent, former Georgia Governor Jimmy Carter, positioned himself as an outsider, a candidate who promised honesty and integrity in government. The election was close, but Ford lost. Many historians argue that the Nixon pardon played a decisive role in shaping voter perception. Even if Americans understood Ford's reasoning, they struggled to accept the optics. The image of one president protecting another lingered. Yet the story does not end with electoral defeat. The pardon of Richard Nixon became one of the most debated uses of executive power in American history. It forced legal scholars to confront difficult questions. Should a president be prosecuted after leaving office? Does accountability require criminal proceedings, or can political resignation be sufficient? Is national stability sometimes more important than retribution? The Constitution grants the president the authority to issue pardons, but it does not dictate when that power should be used. Ford's decision tested the boundaries of that authority. Over time, perspectives began to shift. In later years, some commentators reassessed the pardon more sympathetically. They argued that a criminal trial of a former president could have paralyzed the government, deepened division, and prolonged instability during an already fragile period. In 2001, decades after the event, Gerald Ford received the John F. Kennedy Profile and Courage Award for his decision to pardon Nixon. Supporters framed it as an act of political sacrifice, a choice that cost him his presidency, but may have spared the nation further turmoil. Even so, the debate remains unresolved. The Nixon pardon continues to echo through American political discourse, especially whenever questions arise about executive accountability. It stands as a reminder that presidential power includes not only authority, but discretion, and that discretion can shape history. Gerald Ford believed he was closing a painful chapter. Critics argue he may have opened another, one centered on skepticism, distrust, and the perception that political leaders operate by different rules. The pardon of Richard Nixon was not simply a legal maneuver. It was a defining moment in the balance between justice and stability, between accountability and unity, between the rule of law and the preservation of political order. On that day in September 1974, a president chose to protect another president. Whether that choice healed the nation or permanently weakened public trust remains a question that still lingers in American political history.